Hello guys, welcome back to Fast Coding School. This is your host Yogendra. So guys, in today's video, we have invited Tanay Mehta. He is a Kaggle Notebooks Master, and currently he is a final year student in one of the university in Jaipur, and working with a US-based startup, Weights and Biases. So guys, in this interview, or like in talks with Tanay, we are going to cover a range of topics and questions like how he started his journey in machine learning and deep learning, and Kaggle journey from scratch to becoming a Kaggle notebooks master, and what advice Tanay has for beginners, in data science domain. Welcome Tanay, and we are happy to have you here.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for having me.
Tanay, my first question is, just give us a kind of, a background about yourself.
Okay, so I started my computer science engineering studies at JCRC University back in 2018. So I'm currently in my 7th semester of final year.
Okay.
And when I started my journey, I was just exploring different things. I had no set plan in data science and machine learning, but then I stumbled upon this one day, and then I started working on it and haven't looked back ever since. I, in fact, even attended one of the first coding schools event. I think it was back in 2018.
Yeah, it was long back.
It was long time ago. It was a long time ago. So after that, but I started using Kaggle. So my main turning point in my journey into data science came when I started using Kaggle. So this was last year, so 2020 May or something like that, when COVID was in full swing. So there was the first lockdown. So then I started using Kaggle, and then and there I started improving on the ranks and became a notebooks master. And then after that, I got my internship at NVIDIA, and I am here now.
Okay, good, great. So Tanay, just tell me one thing, that what exactly a Kaggle Notebooks Master means. The people who are very new to this domain, they might be interested to know this. So can you briefly talk about that?
Yeah, so Kaggle is the world's largest data science community. It's a competition platform. It has over, I think, 1 million users or so. So on Kaggle, we have multiple categories like competitions, datasets, notebooks, and discussions. So in each category, if you do considerable work, which of course involves coding. So in competition and notebooks, it involves coding and making good notebooks or good things. So once you do that, you get ranks and you get points. So once you climb the ranks, so when I started last year, I was somewhere around 2,700 or something.
Okay.
And they have about 200,000, 2 lakh total competitors. So you have to climb through all those ranks. So what Kaggle Notebooks Master really means is that for a competition or a dataset, you make a notebook, and that can be anything from a basic ETL notebook to a very complex end-to-end training pipeline, something which I do mostly. So and people look at your work, and then they vote you based on your work, and they also can fork your work and comment on it and stuff like that. And so it's mostly like Stack Overflow, where you get votes or reputation based on the work.
Right. So right now you are in top 100?
Yeah, I'm currently in top 100. I think my current rank is 67. And it has fallen down since, because I've been a bit inactive because it's my final year. But my highest rank was 54th. So I was almost very close to reaching the top 50, but couldn't make that.
So we wish in future you are going to make a mark there.
Thank you.
So that's good. That's great to know, Tanay. We are very happy to know this. So now I have again one specific technical question to you. So while working on those notebooks, right, you must be using a lot of libraries and frameworks, right? So what are the latest libraries in Python ecosystem that you would like to share with our community or the people at FOSC?
Okay, so there is one framework which is very new, and it's released by NVIDIA. It's called Rapids. So Rapids is just like scikit-learn, but for GPUs.
Okay.
So, and I coincidentally worked with a so my internship was based on Rapids at
Okay.
NVIDIA, and I can vouch for the framework because of the innovative solution that it offers to the table. So when we use scikit-learn or NumPy or Pandas, it's all based on CPU. Whatever we load in or do the operations we do, it's all done on CPU and everything stored on RAM, which is a volatile memory. So Rapids says that, hey, we can do everything on GPU because your GPU is sitting idle at that point, right? If you're
Right.
using Colab, your GPU, your K8 is sitting idle. So what Rapids does is that, so for NumPy we have CuPy in Rapids. For Pandas we have cuDF. For scikit-learn we have cuML. So everything has its own corresponding counterpart, and everything it does is it uses your GPU and doesn't put a lot of strain on your CPU.
Oh, yeah, we know this NVIDIA is doing great in this segment, and we look forward for more packages and stuff from their side. So, do you like participate in hackathons as well over Kaggle, Tanay?
So there are competitions on Kaggle, and I do participate on competitions. Although quite recently I have been a bit inactive, as I said, because of final year studies.
Okay.
But other than that, I actively participate. Like anytime a new competition comes, I quickly jump to form a team and start working on it.
Okay, good. So now, while talking to a lot of people, Tanay, right? Maybe in workshops, maybe in events, and a lot of students who come to Fast Coding School uh, and want to get a kind of a mentorship or guidance in this domain. Sometimes they come with a kind of an idea that if you want to do, if you want to build a good career in data science, ML, and DL domain, you have to have master's or PhD degree. Okay, so what are your thoughts on this, Tanay?
I think a master's or a PhD degree is like, we still live in those times when the importance of a master's or PhD is to some extent undebatable. If you want to make a good long-term career in ML, or you want to go into more research side, a
Okay.
master's is generally more preferable. I mean, a PhD is not always preferable. In fact, not a lot of people do a PhD in ML or related to machine learning, but a master's is what some people do. However, it's not to say that without a master's you cannot do good in ML. I have certainly known a lot of people who are currently in their bachelor's, same year as me, working as ML engineers in foreign startups without an MS, without a PhD.
Okay.
So I think it only comes down to your projects and not your degree.
Right, because a lot of people who were alumni at Fast Coding School, they guys are also working in various positions in data science domain only in India and outside India as well. And a lot of them are just graduate. The like you are also undergraduate student right now and still doing great in this domain. So I think I agree with you that project work is way more important than your a degree actually. So now you were talking about your ranking on Kaggle, right? That right now you are 100, your topmost position was 54. Currently you are somewhere close to 67, right? So can you like share with us that how you have improved your ranking on Kaggle, because you started from the beginning. So how it has been your journey and what you have done to kind of improve your ranking on the Kaggle?
So I started in notebooks because I wanted to. So like, I wanted to learn new things, but I wanted to learn it by practice, not from video lectures or something like that. So Kaggle was my go-to place. So I started by looking at the notebooks and then seeing the techniques and trying it on different datasets, or using some modifications and trying it out, playing with it basically. So when I started, I usually worked with EDA and data analysis. Mostly my notebooks were basic data analysis or EDA, hypothesis testing, and basic ML. But as my rankings grew and my knowledge grew, I started making machine learning based, more deep learning based notebooks, where I would basically show how you can train a model on a competition data. So a competition is released, it's an ML or DL competition. You can train a model and release a notebook. So that's what I do right now. So I think what really worked is making quality notebooks. That's a no-brainer, because if you make notebooks that are actually practically relevant, it's not just theory, it should be practically relevant. So if you just write equations in a notebook, I don't think anyone is going to upvote it. Anyone's going to have any meaningful help from it.
Right,
So I think it should be practical, and if you're making deep learning based notebook, it should be efficient and should not throw errors. That's one of the things that I noticed.
Mm, that's good. So, as you said that you uh, participate in competitions as well, but because now because of your studies right now you are not that much active on that front. So how do you decide that in which competition you should participate? Are there any criteria? What is strategy you kind of take to judge that where I should participate in this or not?
I think it depends a lot on. So I personally don't hesitate in participating in any competition unless until it's very complex and I have a very big time limitation where I cannot possibly invest more time in something. So I would then go for a relatively easier competition. But I think it really comes down to how much time you have, how busy you are, because you're not doing full time capital. You'll be doing other things like college or job or something like that. But other than that, if we're talking just from competition point of view, the first thing that I look at in a competition, as soon as I open a competition page, the first place I go is the data tab. So in the data tab, you get to know what data it is, how much data it is it clean, how noisy it is, or how much, generally the size of the data.
Yes, yes.
So that is, I think, the ultimate deciding factor in should I do the competition or should I wait for it into one other competition.
Okay. Yeah. So now I have a question, Tanay. That you are working on a lot of notebooks on the Kaggle, right? So, and you are at the same time you work with weights and biases as well, and you are working with them remotely. So, like, how do you differentiate between a Kaggle notebook work versus a real world problem, right? So, do you see any difference there, or like I just want to have a comparison from your side because you see both of the worlds, right? You are active on the Kaggle notebooks, and you are actively working with that startup as well, which is US based. So I want to know your thoughts on that.
Okay, so real world is, I mean, Kaggle is as close to real world data science problems as you can get, at least looking at a computer screen.
Okay.
So in that regard, I think there are a few things that you don't have to deal with on Kaggle. So a lot of competitions have data which is noisy and which represents like a real world data, because real world data is never clean. It's always noisy. It's always filled with problems.
Right.
But sometimes even the competition organizers give you some sort of pre-processed data, a data that you will not find should you had you to mine that data yourself. So that's, I guess, a few things, because in a real machine learning based problem or machine learning setup, you'll have to do everything from data collection to deployment. And I think those first and the last parts are not possible on Kaggle. Like, you can't collect data. I mean, you can collect and make a data set, but it's optional, right? It's not required by Kaggle. And the deployment part is also not there on Kaggle. So you don't know how you can deploy your model, and you can do production testing and all that. So I think that's something that you'll only learn in real world.
Real world. That's very good. Yeah, I think good point raised, Tanay. And anyone who is actually in both of the world can only say this. Otherwise, it's very difficult to differentiate. Now I have a final question for you, Tanay. India has already become the second, largest data science hub. Okay, and a lot of hiring is going on. So how do you see this field growing in future for let's say next 5 years? And what advice you have for the beginners who are just starting, right, and who want to kind of venture into this domain? So what's your take on that?
So for the like, answering your first question, I think there is a lot more scope in India for data science to grow. For if you were to take a look at, say, United States of America or Germany or Japan or some other countries, I won't say they have saturated their need for data science jobs. This is a field which is growing ever so more exponentially over time. But I think they have at some point reached, they're flattening their curve of how much jobs in data science they'll need, right? But in a country like India, where even now a lot of people don't even have access to internet, you can only imagine in the next 10 or 20 years, so many new ideas will come, so many new startups will become, and hence so many new job opportunities will be there. So I think it's rather childish to even predict how Indian data science ecosystem will grow. It's just out of imagination to see. And answering your second question about my tips to any beginners is, I think this is one thing that I struggled, or one mistake that I did was that I stuck on theory for too long. And if you get stuck on theory for too long and you just see theory and you like math, most of people in ML like maths, so they just keep doing maths again and again and again because that's what they like. But that's the difference. Just because it's math doesn't mean it's going to be helpful in place of practical. So you have to get out of your comfort zone and do things that you don't understand. It's very important because even now, for a few weeks, when I start thinking, okay, everything is going all right, I know that something is wrong. Because if everything is going all right, you're not struggling, then that means you're not learning something. So make a lot of projects. Don't get stuck on theory. And I think if you want to make a long-term research-based career in ML, you should also have a habit of reading papers, which is a very important habit to form at a very early stage.
Yeah, that because I know personally a lot of people who are just starting, they put a lot of time in just just reading the things and theory part. We'll do this, then they'll do this, and then finally I'll come to the project part, and we start with the project part, and whatever it needs, like you just learn on the go. That is how it would be really helpful to you. So thank you, Tanay. It was like a very useful session, and we would like to have you again in the future. Thank you.
Sure, sir. Thank you so much for inviting.